Welcome to the 25th Sunday after Pentecost. It's Sunday, November the 10th, 2024. This is the Manna at the Tap podcast, where we actively seek the spiritual nourishment our souls crave. The daily lectionary reading we explore together is the manna, designed to nurture our spiritual growth and provide the sustenance our souls need. I'm Gloria, your fellow traveler on this spiritual journey, and together we share insights and interpretations from these readings that enrich our spiritual lives. Jesus is now in Jerusalem, having arrived there on Palm Sunday. Then he began teaching around the temple area in Jerusalem. He challenged the religious leaders by speaking in parables. They, in turn, asked him questions, trying to trap him, hoping they could arrest him. The lectionary text is Mark 12, verses 38 to 44, which deals with the issue or the subject of wealth. As Jesus taught, he warned the people, watch out for the scribes, the teachers of the law, because they devoured the houses of widows. He warned the people about the scribes, describing them as self serving people who thought they were more important than anyone else. They said long prayers, they wore long flowing robes, pretending to show love, but specifically lacking mercy, especially toward widows. Jesus then changed his location and was now sitting near the treasury. That's the place where people came to give their offering. According to verse 41 to 44 of our text, as the people placed their offerings in the treasury, a widow came by and put in her two small coins. Jesus used her act as an example. He called his disciples over and told them the widow gave more than the wealthy because she gave a higher proportion of her total worth. She was a model of humble dignity, giving all, giving all she had, despite knowing the scribes, who were the teachers of the law, took advantage of poor widows. Now, the text does not say that everyone should always give everything they have. Instead, the widow made a decision for herself. She decided that her money, what little of it she had, belonged to God. It was about one's perspective, and the widow put her whole life into the treasury. Jesus remarked that others gave out of their wealth, but she put everything out of her poverty, all she had to live on. What might we learn from this story? Jesus was exposing the religious leaders' hypocrisy. He criticized them for wanting the best seats at the synagogue and for not being greeted with honor. On the other hand, he used the example of an unnamed widow, although he did not address her directly, and he challenged the temple leaders to practice being more just in their ways and not to place financial strains on the impoverished. Now, you see, in recent times, in recent Israel, the poor were not required to give. But some of them did so because they believed in the religious institutions, such as the temple, and they believed in the leaders' goodness, and they wanted these institutions, these places of honor, to remain. This widow may have given out of a sense of obligation, or perhaps out of a sense of hope. Having given all she would need to rely on the kindness of her neighbors in times of her greatest need. So possibly this widow's home had been devoured by the scribes, but she still gave the last of what she had to a broken system. She trusted that God was all and all to her, and her offering expressed trust in God amid a world of broken people, broken systems, and communities of faith. We often forget that we have been called to care for the poor, the widow, and the orphan. Jesus chose to identify with the widow rather than lifting up those with power and influence in the community. If we are consumed by honor, power, and money, we too will be left with emptiness. It will devour us with a promise of life it cannot give.